How to do a really good sit-up. In Pilates we call them ab prep or chest lift. And the whole point is to strengthen the core, work the abdominals and give the spine some flexion. So let's begin. This is level 1. First of all, we're going to establish our neutral spine. So we want to have both our feet and legs in line with the sit bones. So if you think about 2 parallel lines running from the sit bones, knees and feet. So if you start with your feet together and you go heels out then toes out, that puts you in the right alignment. Then you're going to make sure you've got your neutral spine, so you've got a flatness across the top here, and underneath your lower back there's just enough room to get your fingertips but not a whole hand, okay? From there, let's start with our arms gently on the floor beside us. And if we lightly press our arms into the floor, just ever so gently, it gives us a bit of connection. We're going to start from the crown of the head and we're going to take a breath in as we do a head nod. Now you can see that I'm not jarring my chin and straining my head off. I'm just sliding the back of my head away. I then continue that articulation and I come up into flexion. And here I've got my shoulder blades off of the floor and I've got a flatness across here and my rib cage is still on the floor, but I haven't squished my back into the floor. I've kept that neutral spine and then I roll down. So I articulate from the crown of the head. I'm going to roll up in sequence with my shoulder girdle engaged. So I'm kind of pulling my armpits down. And I'm stretching my spine long and then I roll down. So if we think of it as lengthening the spine as opposed to bunching forwards, we really work the core and we stretch the spine. So very often what happens with sit-ups is we focus on going forwards like this. And then what happens is the rectus abdominis bulges and we end up with this pot belly effect and we end up very hunchy and the pelvis kind of comes out of alignment and we're really not achieving anything. If anything, we're making things worse. So when we're coming up into flexion, we want to imagine we're being stretched from the back here. So it's this long feeling coming up like this rather than bunching forwards. So consider the space between the ribs and the hips. We have a nice bit of space to begin with. As we're coming up, we're keeping a flatness across the lower tummy and we're not going to let the pelvis move. So I'm going to inhale, head nod, exhale, come up into flexion, and I've got space, lots of space. I can feel like I have an opening here. I've got space underneath my lower back. There was enough to get my fingers, and my shoulder blades are off. So now my spine has gone into some lovely flexion, and if you notice the position of my chin, I've got enough space to get a little plumb between my chin and chest, so I'm not pushing my head forwards and I'm not jamming my chin onto my chest. The idea is that the chest lifts. We're going to think about where our eye gaze is. Your body's going to go where your eyes go. So a common mistake with this one is we look at the ceiling and we come up like this, and you can see how bad that is for my neck. I've put a lot of pressure and the neck extensors are really straining there. That's why if I look straight towards my knees and let my eye gaze make a beeline and I'm looking here, then it puts my neck into the optimal position. You can try putting your hands behind your head. This is quite a nice one as well. Put one hand on top of the other, put your hand behind your head, and this gives you a little bit more feedback on what's going on in the shoulder girdle, and it also gives your head a bit of support. So if you first of all just think of engaging the shoulder girdle, so it's kind of like you want to pull your armpits down towards your hips, and then it's almost like you want to give your neck a bit of traction. It's kind of like you're pulling your head away from your body. And don't press, but almost feel as if you're lightly pushing your head into your hands as you come up into flexion and down. So this, you can see when I'm doing this, I've got length in my spine, I've got space in my body, as opposed to crunching. Okay, you can see the difference. This is a correct way, and my tummy goes a little bit shaky. I know I'm doing it right when it goes a little bit shaky, and this is how we wouldn't want to do it, crunch. Okay, so think long, think stretch. Let's add the breathing pattern in. Inhale to prepare. Exhale, come up. Inhale, stay. Exhale, lower down. It's a great exercise for the abdominals. It's also great for flexing your thoracic spine. And it's a really good one to challenge the pelvic stability as well. But doing it correctly is key. If it's hurting your neck, chances are you're just collapsing your head into your hands like this, and you're just kind of pulling your head forwards and letting your head become a dead weight. But the more you engage your shoulder girdle and pull your shoulder blades down and into the body, that's going to give you some support. And think about not pushing your head with your hands. You're leading with your chest. If your tummy muscles start shaking, you've nailed it. And it's all about this flatness here. If this starts to push out when we're coming up, we need to have a rethink. Lengthen, flatten, create space. And that's how we do a really good sit-up.